Hey everyone, remember last time when we talked about our ancestors walking around for 260,000 generations during the Ice Age? The story of how those nomadic Ice Age people finally got to sit on a couch? Haven't seen it yet? Well, you can see it right here. Go check it out.
Yeah, I remember. They started farming, settled down, and it ruined everything, right?
Exactly. But here's the thing. Something strange happened in between. 12,000 years ago on a hill in Turkey, hunter-gatherers suddenly started doing something insane. They began erecting 10-ton stone pillars. No wheels, no oxen, no houses. Today, I'm going to tell you about the most baffling archaeological site in human history, Göbekli Tepe. And this story is going to completely flip everything you thought you knew about the order of civilization. So, it's 1963. University of Chicago archaeologists are surveying southeastern Turkey. They discover a hill, 15 meters high, 300 meters in diameter.
Oh, lots of flint here? Maybe a Neolithic site?
And they see limestone slabs on the surface. The archaeologists' conclusion?
This is a Byzantine cemetery. Let's move on.
And so they moved on. 30 years passed. In 1994, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt takes another look at this hill, and he realizes,
wait, this isn't a cemetery? It's a megalithic temple?
the carbon dating results come in 9,500 BCE, 6,500 years older than Stonehenge, 7,000 years older than the pyramids. And most importantly, this was built long before agriculture began. The academic world panicked because the formula they believed in was completely upside down. The common wisdom was, agriculture begins, people settle down, surplus food is created, leisure time emerges, temples are built. That was the accepted sequence.
Wait, it's completely backwards?
Yes, completely backwards. So what is Göbekli Tepe? Imagine this, circular structures 20 meters in diameter, two massive T-shaped pillars in the center, with smaller pillars arranged in a circle around them. Height of each pillar, 5 meters. Weight, 10 tons.
10 tons? How heavy is that?
About 2 elephants. And these pillars are carved with high-relief images of snakes, foxes, wild boars, leopards, and eagles. Art-level craftsmanship. Hard to believe it was made by Neolithic hunter-gatherers. The problem is, there's not just one of these. Geomagnetic surveys reveal at least 20 more structures buried underground.
Wait, 20? By hunter-gatherers?
Yes, hunter-gatherers. People with no houses, no farming, no refrigerators. But here's what's even crazier. How many people would it take to erect these massive pillars? At least several hundred. Several hundred people gathering in one place, for months, working together. How is this even possible? Now, let's think about the logistics. How do you move a 10-ton stone? In modern times, we'd use machinery, right? Heavy equipment like cranes. But in 9,500 BCE?
People?
Correct. People pulled them. Without wheels, without oxen, with makeshift ropes. Quarrying the stones, dragging them, erecting them, carving them. Hundreds of people working for months.
So wait, how did they feed those hundreds of people?
That's when archaeologists' heads started to explode. Hunter-gatherer societies worked 4 to 6 hours a day, living in small, mobile groups. They weren't structured to have hundreds of people staying in one place for months. But at Göbekli Tepe, large-scale food processing tools were discovered, grinding stones for grain, feast-sized dishes. The archaeologists made a careful prediction: work feasts.
Feasts? Parties?
Yes, parties. Imagine this. Various hunter-gatherer groups from the surrounding area gather at this hill once or twice a year. They perform religious ceremonies, hold feasts, and while they're at it, hey, since we're here anyway, why don't we move a stone? It's a kind of religious crowdfunding. Move a stone, get a beer, probably some fermented beverage.
So the temple was basically a pub? These old-timers, then and now. You tell them to work, and they go have a drinking party.
Not wrong, but calling it a drinking party is a bit. Now, here's something even more shocking. Look at the floors of Göbekli Tepe. They're made of something called terrazzo. What's terrazzo? Limestone chips embedded in lime cement, an artificial composite material.
Cement? In the Neolithic era?
Yes, but here's what's funnier. To make lime cement, you have to burn limestone at 870 degrees. You need a kiln that can precisely control that temperature. By the way, pottery hasn't been invented yet. Let's recap. Pottery, none. Agriculture, none. Wheel, none. Cement, yes.
The priorities seem weird?
Right, they're weird. But this is the key point. They made temple floors before making bowls to eat from. Faith came before survival. Now the most important question, why? Why did hunter-gatherers do this? Here's where we need to look at the identity of the T-shaped pillars. T-shaped, doesn't that seem familiar? From the side, they look like people. In fact, some pillars have arms, hands, belts, even loincloths carved on them.
Oh, so these are people?
People, or gods. The headless T-shaped tops might symbolize decapitation. And at Göbekli Tepe, large quantities of skull fragments have actually been found. Marks of flesh removal, drilled holes, traces of ochre paint, evidence of skull cult worship.
Oh my. Scary? I take back what I said about it being a pub.
It is scary, but it makes sense. The Ice Age had ended and the climate was stabilizing, but life was still precarious. If the hunt failed, they starved. If they got sick, they died. So people tried to control what they couldn't control. They made sacrifices to gods, worshipped ancestors' skulls, built massive temples. People must have prayed, "We're worshiping properly, so please send us some game." Eagles, snakes, scorpions. These animals aren't prey. They're symbols of fear. Especially eagles connect to sky burial, the funeral practice of giving corpses to eagles as food. They were deeply contemplating death, the afterlife, and the cycle of souls. Now, let me introduce the most radical hypothesis. Klaus Schmidt's core claim.
People domesticated plants to feed the gods.
What? What does that even mean?
In other words, temples created agriculture. The logic goes like this. Hundreds of people gather regularly at Göbekli Tepe. To feed hundreds of people, you have to collect wild grains like crazy. Collection alone isn't enough, so they start planting seeds near their homes. Congratulations, the birth of agriculture. The old belief was agriculture begins, settlement surplus production, temples are built. But Göbekli Tepe suggests temples are built, food is needed, agriculture begins, settlement. Completely backwards.
So gods created agriculture?
In a way, yes. Of course, there are counter-arguments. Professor Ted Banning of the University of Toronto says,
"This isn't a temple, it's just communal housing with fancy art?"
It's possible. Separating sacred and secular space might be a modern misconception. Maybe they lived and worshipped simultaneously. But one thing is certain, whatever this structure was, it required enormous cooperation and organization. And the driving force wasn't material necessity, but spiritual aspiration. Now, the tragic ending. Around 8000 BCE, Göbekli Tepe closes.
What? Why? Did everyone leave?
It didn't just naturally collapse, they deliberately buried it. They covered the entire structure with earth and stones. Why? There are three hypotheses. 1. Desacralization. It was too sacred, so they buried it so no one could touch it. 2. Cosmological shift. A new religion emerged, and they discarded the old temple. 3. Changing times. As agriculture became established, large-scale ceremonial centers were no longer needed.
So after agriculture started, the temple actually disappeared?
Exactly. Later Neolithic sites show an interesting trend. Jericho, 8500 BCE, walls and towers, focus on defense and storage. Çatalhöyük 7000 BCE, dense housing, small shrines inside homes. Monumentality decreases. Why? because now people were settled in one place, worshiping their own gods in their own homes. Giant communal temples? Not needed. Agriculture killed religion. Ironic, isn't it? Temples gave birth to agriculture, but agriculture buried the temples. Let's wrap up. 12,000 years ago, our ancestors were still walking around with Ice Age DNA. But something started to change. The climate stabilized. Wild grains became abundant. People thought,
Hey, this place is nice. Should we gather once a year?
and they started gathering to perform rituals, honor ancestors, worship gods. In the process, they built massive temples, moving 10-ton stones. And to maintain the temples, they collected grain, and when collection wasn't enough, they started cultivating. Before they knew it, agriculture had begun. And as I told you last time, agriculture ruined individual lives. Labor hours exploded, diets worsened, diseases erupted, lifespans shortened.
So Göbekli Tepe is the beginning of all tragedy?
In a way, yes. Trying to worship gods, they invented agriculture. Doing agriculture, they settled. Settling, they built cities. Building cities, they established civilization. And the name of that civilization? Mesopotamia. Yes, the next story takes us a few hundred kilometers south of Göbekli Tepe, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where humanity's first cities emerge. There, humans no longer just build temples. They start building palaces, walls, and tax records.
Taxes?
Yes, taxes. From serving gods to serving kings. One last thing. The question Göbekli Tepe poses to us is this: is civilization really progress? Our Ice Age ancestors worked 4 to 6 hours a day. In the Göbekli Tepe era, they occasionally gathered for festivals. In the agricultural age, they worked from sunrise and collapsed at sunset. We have more, but are we happier? Göbekli Tepe people moved stones for their gods. Mesopotamian people stacked bricks for their kings. Modern people, we pound keyboards for our companies.
Wow, the essence hasn't changed, has it?
No, it hasn't. We're still serving something. Only the object has changed. From gods to kings, from kings to capital. But it's okay. At least now we know how the story that began 12,000 years ago on that hill led us here. And next time, we'll see how that story led to the first empires. Meet me in Mesopotamia. There, instead of stones, we'll hold clay tablets. Instead of gods, we'll meet bureaucrats.
It's getting worse, isn't it?
Yes, it gets worse. But that's civilization. Tonight, before you order chicken, think about this for a moment. Göbekli Tepe people moved 10-ton stones for their gods. What did I live for today? If that's too heavy a question, just eat your chicken. The Göbekli Tepe ancestors grilled meat at their feasts too. Understanding the world is, ultimately, about understanding ourselves. Thank you for staying with us until the very end today. If this story has given you even a little something to think about, please subscribe and hit the like button to join us on our next journey. Even a single movement of your finger gives us great strength to create more content. This has been Smash the World, giving you the perspective to break the world wide open. I'll see you in the next story.